So welcome everyone. My name is Judith King Matheson, and we are on a wonderful series of like-minded, open-minded, and heart-to-heart people meeting together on a monthly basis on different themes. The OWL website at www.rootaway-wellnesslearning.com is taping these conversations, and they will be put up later for others to see. So if you have friends in your community that would like to have heart-to-heart conversations and learn how to be in circles in a sacred way, we want to bless you all and give you great gratitude for joining us and linking your hearts with ours and ours with yours as we awaken to the world inside ourselves, a world yearning for us to explore the beauty of humanity, the goodness of humanity in these times of great challenges, but also in these times of awakening the best in each other. So thank you for coming. I am blessed to be an elder, a Celtic Irish grandmother from Scottish background, born in the eastern region of St. John, New Brunswick, Canada, the land of the rising sun. And I'm also blessed to be living on the territory of the Algonquin heart of this region of Canada, in a territory that's their heart, where their ancestors have been here since time immemorial. And I have been blessed to be sitting in circles of listening, where listening is what is most important. And so on this land, we are blessed to live and learn, and Mother Earth herself. We are also blessed to see Earth as our one mother, that we as one universal humanity share this same home. So I want to welcome you all today, those that are listening to this conversation. And I particularly want to thank Kim Lady and Joey Marty to be part of the Circle of Three, welcoming each month a wonderful speaker to join us and bring their beautiful awareness and spiritual story and energy as it relates to the theme. And this week we're welcoming Julie Desiree, a very beautiful soul and spiritual friend of mine from a long time ago. And lots have gone under our bridges since we first met, Julie. And it's such a blessing to reconnect with you again today. So welcome everyone to this wonderful world we're living through, where yes, it's hard to be human, but every day we're seeing the goodness in each other's hearts. So Julie's going to open us today and create that sacred space, similar to our First Nations way of creating a smudging ceremony and creating a sacred circle where everyone's voice in the circle is so important. And the most powerful thing is to honor that listening is the key, listening from our hearts. So let's be present to Julie's opening and thank her for opening and thanking her for being here today, and all of you who are listening, because the ones that are listening are the ones we've been waiting for.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor and privilege to get to join all of you here today. I'm going to share a prayer that I use every day in my healing work. And it starts like this. If you could just close your eyes for a moment. Mother, Father, God, source of all creation and all creation itself, we welcome you. And we thank you in advance for your healing energies, your healing guidance, and your healing blessings. We thank you for using us today as clear, perfect, grounded, loving, powerful vessels of your divine grace, your creator, your divine inspiration, as we come together in community to empower, enlighten, and encourage each other to be, above all, love, and to learn to love our neighbors as ourselves and ourselves as our neighbors. And so it is.
And so it is. So in the silence of our own hearts, let us listen intently to the messages that are coming through our hearts to yours today. And may we all be richly blessed. Deep gratitude, Julie, for that beautiful opening.
You're so welcome.
I love that phrase, as it is, because it allows us to accept people as we just look at them, gaze at them, observe them, like a child learning who are they, just by the way they move. And and what they're doing. And this quality of silence, of listening, is something I did. I was a very reserved child in British Columbia, opposite to Nova Scotia. We are Canadians here on a vast land, on a vast journey. And I appreciate the heart that has brought me to this group, that has invited me to this group. Judith, thank you for phoning me this morning to remind me there is a conversation going on this afternoon. I really need to knock on the head, Judy, because I go in my cave as a writer and I'm just oblivious unless somebody calls me. I'm a telephone person.
Well,
Thank
very
you.
much,
Thank
Lori,
you.
for adding your voice. And for all the ones that are here to listen, I would suggest we have everyone turn off their speakers, similar to me when the other people are going to start talking in the circle. So anyone that's just here as a listener today, I welcome you all in deep gratitude. Some of the most important people in a circle are the ones that are listening and holding space for the rest of us to bring forth whatever is the highest, purest energy that Spirit needs us to speak through for our truth to be heard today. And we hope a little bit of our truth resonates with a little bit of yours. So thank you so much for your wise words, Lori. And it's a really blessing to have you as part of this circle and holding space for listening as well. And I think that's a real wonderful example of why in our Western world, we need to learn the skills of listening, all of us right now, because it's in the listening that we do the most growth. And the most growth will happen from the inside out. As a seed is planted and it's watered with the wise words of each person in the circle having wisdom, all of us are nourished and all of us grow. So Kim, can you start off the circle with Joy and myself and Julie? And as we bless those that are here as listeners with deep gratitude that they too have wisdom. And we would love to hear your wisdom in the future as well as these circles grow. So these are things we can do in every community right now for all the listeners. So I hope a little bit of richness will come through today for all of you to allow your voice to flow just like Lori did. So thank you for being a great teacher, Lori. Kim, let us start us off on this theme. And the theme today is above all, love.
Yes. And that's a theme that just, it's always been on my heart. In particular, as Lori mentioned, the theme of acceptance, I think, goes along with the idea of love. And because how can you truly love someone if you can't accept the beauty that they are as a soul? If you're stuck in a place where maybe you're judging, or maybe you're just focusing on how you don't agree or you don't get along, or the faults or the mistakes or any of that stuff that makes you kind of look at another person as less than in some kind of way. When we can release all of that and we can see the people in front of us as being whole and perfect, beautiful creations of spirit, and just like us, going through a journey, going through an experience of life where we get to learn, we get to grow, we get to have mistakes, we get to have experiences and interact with each other. When we can embrace that and embrace each other as souls, simply souls that are here in existence, all going together on a journey, I think that it makes it so much easier to slip into that essence and that feeling of love, because that's our natural way of being. Our natural way of being is to be a soul. That's who we are at the core. So we are literally created out of love, and that's who we are. So when we put aside all of the stuff that we feel like we're going through as we go through this life, and we just get reconnected at the core, we just take the time to get grounded, like Julie helped us all ground as we started today, then we really create connections with each other. And that's how we start. Just start with love. And when you start from there, that creates a lifestyle where we can do all things with love. just create, you gotta start there first. Just gotta start there. So that's my little nugget of wisdom at the moment, is just start with love. No matter where you're at, start there.
I love
Wow.
that wisdom, because when you start with love, the seed is planted and the joy begins to come through. As we watch little children, they know how to live from love right from the time they arrive. And like Christ said in his message, we must become like little children. Suffer the little children to come unto me. There's so many parables in scripture that are such wise counsel to the times we're living through. And Julie, I think you wanted to build on that.
Oh, I was just going to say, Kim, you were reminding me when I started teaching Reiki about 25 years ago now, I always taught Reiki as love. Technically, Rei is Japanese for universal life force. But to me, universal life force, I mean, how many names for God is there, right? The Creator, Holy Spirit, source, the force, may the force be with you, just so many layers and layers and layers. So for me, it was always about Reiki as love, and remembering that the source of all creation and all creation itself, we have access to that every minute of every day, but we forget, because as you said, Kim, we do what I call the opposite of Reiki, which is Kiki. When we're disconnected from spirit and our own spirit, we start spinning. And Kiki is kind of like caca, it's sticky and it's gooey, and it gives us headaches and stress and drama, and it takes us away. It adds to this big illusion that says that we're separate from God, when in fact we are God, we are love. And oh my God, how easy it is to forget that, especially during a pandemic, especially with so much hurt and so much divisiveness going on. So I just think this topic, above all love, is phenomenal to remind us all, to remind me to get back to love and meet everything with love, especially myself. Because when we're not loving ourselves, when we're not self-compassionate, that's often the time that we project not love onto people, right?
That might bring in Joey's voice, because he has a lot of really wonderful work that he does with the trauma we all come into the world with sometimes. Joey, would you like to speak to that, on what you're doing with the work that you're doing around trauma?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. First, Julie, thank you for your opening prayer. Like the moment you started, I kind of felt all these chills go down my back and down my legs and around my body. And for me, that's part of the deep listening that Judith was speaking about earlier. Like oftentimes we think of deep listening as through our ears, but there's also the deep listening of what we feel in our bodies as we're experiencing other people. And so it's kind of multiple levels of deep listening. And definitely notice how my body responded instantly to your prayers. So I really appreciated that from you. And Kim, exactly what you were saying with starting with love. So important to have that in the forefront of our mind, of continually reconnecting with the love that we have for ourselves and with others, so that as we come into interactions with other people, we keep that within us and notice when we're slipping. And I think in order to talk about love, we also have to talk about fear, because fear is kind of the grounding force to all of the other difficult emotions we have as humans, and difficult experiences or interactions with people, relationships in our lives that are troubling or cause strife or maybe aren't easy flowing, I think are often showing us the fear that we have of the love that we will really want to be able to express. So that's where a lot of my work comes in, personally and professionally, is to help people to start to see these patterns in ourselves of when this fear arises, no matter what the emotion is: anxiety, depression, trauma, the list goes on of the different emotions that arise, but really they all are based within fear. And the way that I see it is fear is really what's that top portion that's covering the love that's within us. So we always have access to that love, But oftentimes, as difficult situations come moment by moment, that these pieces of fear are really covering up who we truly want to be and the love that we want to be. And so oftentimes, I'm with that, with the piece of love, that all of these are here and they're always accessible. And I think it's also important to start to look at our own lives and begin to see when is that being hindered in our own lives. Because if we can begin to see where these pieces of fear and trauma are displaying themselves in our own lives, kind of as a reflex, then as we begin to notice those and feel them within our body, the biology begins to heal them naturally. And then what I find is it gives us a quicker access point to the love and the compassion that we know that we want to be. It almost becomes an easier second nature, versus trying to make it happen. And yeah, so I guess that's where I'm coming from, is that love is really what we are and what our soul's purpose is, in the same way that Kim was saying. And we can do a lot of things to be able to harness that love and find new ways to express it more readily. And then at the same time, finding those places where it just doesn't happen in our lives, and we keep seeing it not happening over and over again. Maybe we say things we didn't mean to, maybe we acted in ways we didn't intend to, and we look back on our life and wish we had done differently. Those become very interesting places to investigate, and to see how can we resolve that within us, so that we can actually more easily access the love that we are.
Mm.
I just want to make a comment. You just reminded me of fear, false expectations appearing real.
Mm.
And then recently I saw another one, fear, face everything and rise.
Mm. Mhm.
Instead of false expectations, or when those false expectations come up, to catch them and say, wait a minute, how much of my fear is really even an issue? You know, often 90% of what we fear never even happens or comes about. And so try to remember, face everything and rise, because once we confront that fear, it's like confronting a lion on the path, it will disappear. Or it can be like a lion, it can be so terrifying. But once you step
Absolutely.
into it, you step into the realm of the magician, which is the place where I love to try to live as much of my life as I can from, where we create magic and miracles.
Mhm.
Absolutely, Julie. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's part of it. Is that it's almost as if the body has this mechanism to um, give us this fear response so that we can survive. But there's many places where it comes into action in places that it doesn't make sense for our overall journey. And so if we can be able to see where that fear happens, allow the body to feel the feel the interaction in that present moment,
Mhm.
feel your feelings, then it naturally begins to heal it, so that it no longer becomes that same response in the future. And so that's how we rise above the fear, in a way, is that it actually integrates that information to say, I used to think this was fear, I don't want to be in the situation. And now you say, I'm going to be conscious with it and allow you to process that. It automatically becomes a yes in the future, where it's no longer fear anymore. So as future moments happen that used to activate that fear response, it's no longer active anymore, because now it's been truly healed. And it kind of reminds me what Judith was talking about earlier, about how children don't have fear,
Mm.
right? They are all love, because they haven't been given these ideas as to what fear is. So they have no fear, they have all access to love, and that's just what they are. And we all were children at one time, but we've been given all these programs of fear. And so as we start to recognize those and heal them within ourselves, then we come back to that source of love. So thank you so much for bringing that up, Julie. I love it.
You're
And,
so welcome.
and thanks so much for talking about Reiki, because everything's about energy. And so what I find as a Reiki person myself, some of us over time become completely numbed out, so we can no longer feel our bodies. And we get triggers that program us to be in a reactive pattern that is very hard in the body, because we live from a repressed, no, don't grieve, just get on with life attitude. And so what happens over time is we lose connection with ourselves, with who we are as the energy. And I sense what you're talking about, Joey, too, is if we can learn to be more attentive to the times that fear is coming. It's a message from the body. It's an old programming, fear and flight. And it's a wise old messenger, the biology of the body, seeking to reprogram itself, because the body is the physician. We are the physician. But if we don't even be conscious in the moment of what the trigger might be, and Joey's done wonderful work being present to people in that way, so that he can help us be present and breathe and help the body, help us become in relationship with the body, doing the work of magic, making the shift. And the shift is on. It's like driving a car. We're getting more in tune with our own beautiful soul's vehicle by which we're experiencing life on earth in these times. And yes, some of our vehicles have been through a lot of accidents.
Yes, and you're also making me think that there's fight, there's flight, but there's also freeze. You know, how many times as little children we couldn't fight because it was dangerous, and we couldn't flee because there was nowhere to flee to. So we freeze framed into our emotional field. I'm an emotional intuitive of 27 years now. And I have this unique gift of being able to see into the human energy field, particularly the emotional body. And frozen energy shows up like clouds of black and red, deep, dark, muddy red. And it's just so fascinating when you bring the love of Reiki, or Reiki as Reiki, universal life force, by whatever name you want to call it. But again, I like to bring it in as love. I see with my clairvoyant eyes, I see these clouds of black and red and gray just disappearing. It's so remarkable how well people respond to love. And another thing, before I forget, Carolyn Mace, medical intuitive, who wrote the bestseller, New York Times bestseller, gosh, almost 30 years ago now, called Anatomy of the Spirit. One of my favorite quotes from her is, "Your biography becomes your biology."
Yep.
So the more we heal our story, the more we heal our body, our physical body, our emotional body, you know, those 7 layers of energy that if we put our fingertips right out to the tip, you know, we have this bubble around us that has can become very toxic and traumatized because of, as you mentioned, Joey, you know, the things from childhood. There's lots there. Oh, and one more thing. Okay, I'm just getting like this stream of consciousness. So I don't mean to be a hog here.
No. Allow it to come through.
All right. That's what the prayer was all about, right? Using us as clear, perfect vessels of grace and empowerment and inspiration. So when I learned Reiki way back when, I was one of the first kids on the block. There were only 3 of us doing Reiki at the time. And I was taught by a traditional teacher who taught me the 3-part practice of Reiki: connecting with the divine, disciplining the mind, and bringing the energy through the hands. But she used to say, not everybody wants to be touched because of some of our biographies include a lot of trauma, and being touched can really trigger that trauma. So through the hands, the heart, the hugs, the words, the eyes. And I've been teaching that ever since.
Beautiful.
So that, Joey, you were speaking to this earlier, you know, that catching ourselves, that mindfulness, that consciousness, that moment we catch ourselves in the story, we can start the story of fear, we can rise above it. What was it? Face everything and rise and start creating a new story. To change up. So thank God for people like you, Kim, and Joey, who support people, excuse me, in healing and moving forward and rising up back to the love that we are. And I was also taught Reiki brings us back to our natural state, which is deep relaxation and love. All right, I'll stop for a bit now.
I think you're in the flow of the wounded child. And I often say to people, we've never been taught, even though we've been traumatized, of just giving ourselves a big hug. All we do is we go into the ego of judgment and the programming that, hey, I'm getting a telephone call, I should answer that. Rather than staying in the moment of honoring that a child, when they're playing, they're completely in tune with the essence of who they are. They're natural. And I think what we want to honor, as I'm depicting on my shirt today, which was a beautiful present from one of Julie's friends the other day, around every child on earth matters. Well, we're children. We're like little children. And we all have a little child that has come into the world with a particular human experience that has empowered us to become the people we are today. Because in our woundedness, in as much pain as we have, we can go to that place of compassion. And in the duality of what we're seeing, the yin and the yang, and all this polarity happening on the planet, it's a powerful time for humanity to awaken in ourselves and each other a new expanded consciousness and awareness, to be like little children, to go back to live and drum and talk and express and live with the joy of being authentic and real. Beyond the trauma is inside all of us, these beautiful souls yearning to become the ones we've been waiting for. And that energy is in all of us. So we inspire in spirit each other. My soul gets fed in these calls every month. That's why as an elder, I need to hold space for your voices. The elders bring a lot of pain and trauma that we're still healing.
And as you mentioned to me earlier today, you bring the ancestors' trauma as well, which needs healing as we step into the new earth.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the new earth is dismantling the old earth, which we're all witnessing around us. And it's heavy some days. Boy, oh boy, I don't know about you guys, but for me, just to keep my center most days as a high empath, all of the energies that are out there that are very, very stressed. So Reiki is one way, in mindfulness, but so is walking, so is connecting with the mother. Judith, you and I were speaking about this on the phone together, the critical nature of connecting to the mother on a daily basis, if possible.
And being outside and breathing the fresh air.
And the sunlight.
It's absolutely imperative that we restore our lungs capacity to breathe in the fresh air of our ancestors on our left side, our right side, who are all sending love and energy in these times, because for every generation that has healed, every generation still has pieces of trauma. And as we heal, we're helping, as you say, Julie, the ancestors are cheering us on, because they know that what the work we're doing is very, very powerful work at this time on a planet that is awakening the best inside ourselves, because Mother Earth too is giving us a strong message. Humanity must heal. So as Grandfather William Commanda talked about, we must get in the same vessel and begin to row and sink together. And the vessel, this blessed earth, is our one mother. And our one mother is helping humanity to begin to see it's time to row together in sync for the new shore, to remember who we are. We're beautiful souls, and we are little children, and we're learning. And every day we're getting better at being better. Joanna, you're unmuted. Joanna, you're unmuted. Yep.
Okay, there we go. So there's 8 of us here. and that's infinity.
Mhm.
So I guess we're open to infinite possibilities, and so many things are going through my brain right now, inspired by you wonderful folks on this call, and love the theme for today. I have been, and I just want to, I was so excited when I was looking at my emails and I saw this invitation, and the guest being Julie, whom I haven't really seen for a very long time. And that just so inspired me to join in, and it's just such a pleasure seeing an old friend, dear friend,
Mhm.
shared many things together. I was really interested in a lot of things that Joey said about trauma. It seems that every year or so, I've been tasked with a theme to learn about, I guess you could say. And being a very curious individual, and I think I'm getting even more curious as time goes by, I'm very curious about this phenomena of trauma. I know that I've healed a lot of my own trauma, and I have done that consciously and been very conscious that it has been a choice of which direction I want to go in, and which wolf do I want to feed? Do I want to feed the wolf of trauma? Do I want to feed the wolf of love? And I think all of us here on this call are pretty far down the road of our own self-healing and also self-mastery. So of course I know about self-mastery, but it seems kind of recently I'm going down into deeper levels of this particular phenomena and realizing how important it is, especially during these times when it is so important that we have mastery over that time we spend with ourselves and our thoughts, and being able to at will direct which direction we want to go in. And yeah, I've a lot of people have, when I am directed to take on a theme, and being this one being trauma, I believe that I'm currently in. A lot of people with trauma or whatever the theme is enter my space. I guess so that I have individuals to observe and receive data so that I can go on from there. And there have been quite a lot of illuminations come regarding that. What I find interesting is it seems to evolve around the choice. And I know a lot of folks have tools in their toolbox that they've picked up along the way of their own self-mastery. But there seems to be, and I haven't quite figured this out yet. You know that song by what's her name? We haven't got it all figured out yet. So I'm kind of in the process of that. So I guess I'm looking for strategies. I come upon these people and, well, I don't know, like some of them are extremely extreme cases. And I don't know if it's true that they're too far gone, that they just can't be pulled back from that constant state of extreme anxiety and not and it being so extreme, they don't even seem to be able to have the awareness of what's going on around them anymore. They're just lost in the sea of trauma.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, as
I'm not finished yet. Maybe I should finish it. Hold on, hold that thought.
Yeah, I just
So,
to complete the thought, I would like to hear Joey's voice concerning you're talking about trauma. Perhaps you could add some insight.
yeah, so I guess I'm looking for as a person, maybe just listening to a person or have a person come for massage or other kind of treatment to have something to offer these individuals who are extremely caught up in that traumatic energy. So I'll leave it there for now.
Yeah, and I'd advise them to talk to Joey. Joey, could you add your thoughts on that? Because that's your real field of being present to others that are locked into that trauma. Perhaps you can give some insight, because I don't think it's as much as about thinking and strategies as much as what is the person feeling and helping them to connect with their feelings. So could you add some insight? Because that's your field. That's how you're helping many people.
Yeah, definitely. It's a difficult one. I mean, a couple things that came up for me is, we are our first love. And so how do we become best friends with ourselves? Through the avenue that I work with is how do we become best friends with our own body, with our own selves, and accept our experience more readily? Especially with like the healer's paradigm, we often see this in other people and want to help. And I think the first place is always to start with ourselves. The beautiful thing about any types of traumas or emotional triggers is that when we have people inside of our lives that we see this within them, oftentimes that becomes triggering for ourselves too. And I'm not saying this is happening for you, Joanna. You could have healed these as well and just seeing them in another person and wanting to be able to help. So it's kind of both at the same time, but it's more of an inquiry to tune your own attention to be inside of your body in these situations when you see anxiety or emotional triggers or traumas in other people, because often what happens is we are emotionally triggered when we see someone else emotionally triggered. And so that gives you in that moment a beautiful opportunity to check in with your own body and your own self to see, do you feel internal tensions? Do you have a tension anywhere inside of your body in the moment you're interacting with these other people? Because that gives you an opportunity to actually heal that that resonance of anxiety that you're experiencing in this other person, and inherently that also helps them to heal it without you trying to. But as an offering you could give, I do 30-minute consultations with people, so I'd be happy to do a free consult with this person to see if they're willing to. But it really comes down to, is that person ready to heal? That's always the question that only they can answer. And if they're not ready to heal, then it's not the right time. But if they are ready to heal, then the pieces that I usually offer is tuning that attention to notice when you're feeling an emotional trigger. And once you do that, then you can work that muscle to be okay with feeling the feelings, because the way to heal is to feel. And it sounds too simple to be true, but that's really the way the body works, is if we're willing to accept our situations at hand moment by moment and allow our awareness, our attention to connect into the feeling and not try to control it, not try to change it, not try to breathe through it, simply feel the feeling of the feeling, and the body will naturally begin to resolve that. Whether it's in the situation you said of kind of being in someone else's anxiety, or actually being that person in that anxiety. Either way, it's the same type of equation of allowing ourselves to feel completely without trying to change it. And as that happens, the body naturally heals it. And we do this every single day without realizing it. It's really about these situations that are difficult for us, that we can start to apply this choice, like we mentioned earlier, of choosing to allow ourselves to feel it. And then the body naturally takes care of the rest. I hope that helps, Joanna. And also, I wanted to hear more of Kim's voice as well. I know she has a lot more to share about love, and just curious if there's anything else you wanted to share around where we've come so far.
Yeah, Kim does a lot of wonderful work around this issue as well, Kim. So tell us how, my sense is it's not about figuring it out from the mental. It's, it's something deeper than that. So could you speak to what you're doing around music therapy and different elements? Like I know Netric chiropractic is a powerful tool to help us get in touch with our bodies as well.
Yeah, when it comes to fear, I love all of the acronyms. You know, my personal acronym is false evidence appearing real, because sometimes we see things and we're like, oh, you see, I told you. We see the evidence. So I love all the acronyms for fear. What I've noticed is fear, in my experience, fear is telling us that we're not in control of something, whether it's we feel like we need to control a situation or a person or the emotional response. Oh no, I'm feeling upset, I'm feeling sad, I shouldn't feel this way, I should be happy. But the fear is, it's not real. Like it's appearing real, it's not real. So when we realize that we're allowed to feel whatever we want to feel, however our bodies feel, like that's okay. And like Joey said, just be in that emotion and don't judge the emotion, accept the emotion, be with it, hold it, give it space, because then you're not ashamed of it anymore. So much there's a thing, no guilt, no shame, no fault, no blame, is something I learned in a leadership program last year. And it speaks to the idea that those are the things that we attach to the idea of fear. We feel guilty, we feel we've done something wrong, we feel like something's our fault, we feel ashamed that we are something wrong. And all of the, and then we want to blame, we blame ourselves, we blame the situation, we blame the external circumstances. But when we can release all of that and kind of chant that, no guilt, no shame, no fault, no blame, you could like write that down, release all of that, sit with it, accept the emotion, because once you accept it, it has no power over you. None at all. No power over you. You feel it, you express it, and then you can move on. And you don't need to feel guilty for feeling however you were feeling it, because it's human. We're all human. And it's natural to feel human feelings. So we all have them. We've all felt them. We all get triggered in some kind of a way at one point or another. So just allow that to be okay. And then you can move on from it. And you'll learn from that. We have our biggest lessons when we experience these emotions, but you can't run from them. You have to embrace them and let them teach you what's under the fear. What are you really afraid of? What's really going on? Okay, what's under that? Take it a step deeper. What's under that? Like keep going until you figure out like, what's the root of all of this? What do you really think? Do you really think you're worthless? You're not good enough? Is that why? Like it can be really, really deep. Like Joey said, it goes back to childhood and the beliefs that we formed before we were 3 years old. And those beliefs about, are we good enough? Are we okay? And whatever, and our experiences in the world, those, we carry those with us. And if we don't learn how to be okay with all of that, it can really, as you said, Judith, by the time we're elders, we're carrying a lot of stuff. So that would be my piece about the fear. And the only other thing that popped into my mind as we were talking about learning from children, reminded me of, I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I cannot tell you, I think I learn more from her than she learns from me, because she's reminded me, Mom, you get to play. You get to be creative. You don't have to work all the time. You don't have to be so worried all the time. Like, she reminds me what it's like to be in like an innocent child, to be more in tune with that love. So she's kind of like my little activator. She helps me activate that love energy, and then, I share it. So those are my thoughts that popped up as all of you were talking. It's such a beautiful conversation. I really
I
love
love that. Those principles to live by. No guilt, no shame. We have
Yeah.
to put them up in all our calls, because you see, as little children, if we never felt loved, and a lot of children are born into a place where they feel the opposite of love. So as you get older, how can you be something you've never experienced? So that's one of the challenges for the journey of healing, is it's all about children. Every child on the planet deserves to have a capacity, hopefully to have chosen parents that have that capacity to love. But in every generation, if we've all come from a trauma in our ancestry, and we weren't able to be parents and present in a way that the children felt love, how do you as an adult have the capacity to be something you've never experienced? So for me, it's beyond words. It's about, how do we help children feel? How do we help our own little child feel when we're going through our trigger moments, right? How do we just give ourselves a hug and get on and play and have some fun and sing and dance? And we have to remember the joy that we also are, that's been covered up. And I believe that's why the smudging that First Nations do, and the wonderful grounding that they do with drumming circles, and capacity to have listening and sharing circles, and have elders like grandmother and myself and many others hold space to listen to you young ones that can help us see more clearly how well we've done from where we've come from, right? And how we can better be present to each other of all ages, to remember that children are here to have fun, to live joy, and to sing and dance. And when they do so, and we do so, everybody's in joy. And we're here to enjoy life and live it fully. Julie would like to build on that.
Yes, you're reminding me of another Carolyn May. So she really influenced me back in my early days. And she had this meditation: go back to your first childhood memory of powerlessness or trauma or whatever you could choose, abandonment. And I remember crying so much at the time doing it, because it really brought you back. But at the same time, she'd have you shift into, once you acknowledged, in Reiki, we talk about the first place of healing is honoring what's so, which Kim and Joey, well, you've all mentioned, acknowledging what has happened and being able to listen for another, or listening for yourself. And then once we gave the child a voice, we turned it around and we said, go back to the first joyful memory you had when you were a child, like a pleasure moment. And that was such a game changer to go back, because most people, there were the odd ones that couldn't find one. Most people in my classes could find a moment that was just pure joy, often a moment in nature. And they got to see that we would connect with our totems. Like when I took Carolyn's work and did my own journey with it, often people would connect with a tree or a totem and realize that tree and that totem was part of their essence, their divine essence, and essentially a superpower, the qualities of those animals or those trees. And so that's something I like to do with clients from time to time, is just have them go back to that childhood moment when there was pure joy and to build on that. So Joanna, thank you. It's so good to see you. Joanna took me on my first vision quest and helped me with a course called The Tribe of the True Self, which has got to be like 25 years ago. And she brought me so many teachings about medicine wheels and native traditions. So really powerful question. And I think for me, Joanna, it's with the toughest cases I've ever had, which most of the time aren't my clients, they're my loved ones that I feel often helpless to support, because they're not necessarily open to getting on my table, my healing table, or they think I'm too woo-woo. In those cases, I honor what's so. So you're angry right now. Talk to me. Get it out. So you're feeling scared. Tell me about that. I don't know about you guys, but I learned when I was growing up, I learned to sugarcoat everything. Oh no, you can't feel sad. Why would you feel sad when there's so much to be grateful for? Look around you. There are people that, the kids in Africa have no food. And so I get it, but at the same time, our feelings are being invalidated, which just has that child part of us feel more unworthy, more unloved, more unheard, and just push all those things down. So what I do is really practice listening, what I call heart listening and honoring, and prayer. I use a lot of prayer. I've had to, what I've learned, because I'm so empathic, I would just take everybody's pain on my shoulders. And what I realized was that wasn't loving for them or for me, because my archetypes, rescuer, savior, the good girl, healer, I could help, but it wasn't really helping. But when I learned to give them, to surrender them to the creator, I found that their lives would shift and heal so much more quickly when I would just get out of the way and give them to grace, or again, by God, or by whatever name you call it. And when I give myself over, when I surrender and say, universe, take my day, God, take my day. This is too much for me today. Take downtown, take the pandemic, take the whole world, please, because I have nothing left. So I've learned a lot about self-love over the years that I count too. That if my cup's empty, no, I don't get anything, and there's nothing to give to anybody. Oh, I'm rambling again. So I'm gonna let somebody else run with this now. Judith?
So we must refill our buckets.
Yes.
In as much as you give, you also receive, but we're not here to take on the burdens of the world. Somebody told me years and years ago, I was walking around town like I was Jesus Christ. Give everybody your burden to me. so you're not going to have a long life by taking other people's pain on.
Yes, and here's a really good one. Somebody told me years ago, because I had a strong martyr archetype, and I thought I had to take everybody's suffering. And they said, Julie, get off the cross. We need the wood. And at the time I was so pissed. Oh my God, what do you mean? I'm saving you. What do you mean? Get off the cross. But now I tell other people that joke because we do need the wood.
I think we should all go do some chopping of wood, because that's a really good way to clear repressed energy. And
Yes.
I think, again, I think a lot of it is because if we live through a culture that says little children are to be seen, not heard, and don't cry, you're a brave boy. Imagine what we do to our males.
Oh,
From the time little males are born, they're taught not to cry, to be strong. Well, what kind of a messaging is that to the child? I'm sad, I need to cry. I've hurt myself, I need to cry, right? So what we do is we suppress the natural emotions that are the healing emotions of the body. When we're hurt, we need to cry, right? And when we're in joy, we need to laugh. So it's a polarity thing that is being lived out right now in the microcosm of humanity and the macrocosm of the bigger whole. We are taught not to talk. We are taught not to listen. We have lost complete relationship with ourselves, never mind each other. So to be fully human, in conversations like this, we begin to bring back who we are authentically from the depth of who we are. We're beautiful energies expressing the joy and the passion that we're discovering ourselves. We're like Christopher Columbus. We're on a voyage, an interior voyage. And going through all the ups and downs and high and low seas of life, we're discovering the beauty of the energy that seeks to express itself, the soul energy, that highest essence of the child within us, that's a beautiful soul born in these times of helping all of us to engage with our souls one-to-one to experience these oneness conversations. And when we open the minds and open the hearts, our souls begin to express the truth. And only the truth can be seen when we go deeper and deeper to know ourselves. And it's just a joy for me to listen to you folks today, and for all of us to restore our energy from the depth of who we are as we get better at going to source. Because we're oneness, we're all of that same energy, we're all of that same light. And if you go to my web Facebook today, on the Facebook, Judith King Matheson, a woman took a picture over the city of Ottawa several nights ago. And it's the most beautiful picture of the sun shining through in the form of a cross on Wellington Street as walkers are walking. And you can see that despite the storms of life, the sun is always emerging. And every new day, the sun emerges, the moon goes down, the sun emerges. Well, that's what we're here to do, keep emerging. Go deeper, come back up and see who you are. Look in the mirror. You're a beautiful soul. Look in your eyes. We're absolutely amazing beings. And you're all here and all blessing to each other and in your own communities. Wherever you go, your light goes. And in as much as your light is there listening to another human being, you awaken the light in them. Your presence, your energy. You talk to a stranger, you say a kind word, you look in somebody's eyes with compassion, and they remember who they are. We're human, and we're beautiful, beautiful human beings on a journey now of awakening the best in each other. And that goodness is flowing as I speak, because we're present now. We're present to each moment. So thank you all for being who you are on that journey.
thank you, Judith, for your incredible wisdom. That was
Yes,
beautiful
thank
and
you so much,
powerful.
Judith.
Thank you, Judith. Yeah. And Tony, thank you. Or Joey, thank you. This area of allowing ourselves to feel, to give ourselves permission when we're alone to cry, or to look at ourselves in the mirror and admire our own beauty. You know, those private moments where we are discovering who we want to be through the heart. And that we have a choice, like Joanna said. And for me, this, you know, having trauma as every child must have. We're born to experience trauma, to overcome it, to learn, to get our muscle, to stand up as that soul that we know we are. That intuitive soul is so amazing, and we never lose touch with that. That soul is our attitude, and that attitude overcomes all things. We are 100% attitude, and that's where our freedom is. And it is above all things. It's behind the mind, and this journey of who we are in service to that ministry of light. I listened last night to a French Canadian. His name is Stéphane Chavat. I don't know if you've ever heard of this man, but he's, I think anyone that's on television shows, weekly or daily, they are in that position of being, he described the way the energy flows by looking at our hands. And he's saying the energy of the apostle is one that is flexible, that can touch all the four fingers and affects everything with that understanding that is the thumb, and nothing works without the thumb. You can't move the doorknob to open a door. This ability to be foreordained as the light giver of an apostle with the flexibility to touch all of them, which would be the prophet with the index finger that is directing where to go, who to separate, when to climb a mountain, when to go to the valley. All of that ability to decide in the prophet, the voice of God that's in us. And then the longest finger is the evangelist that reaches out longer and wider than the pastor or the teacher. The pastor being the ring finger that joins families together, is looking after the flock, is there every day, feeding them, clothing them, hearing their stories and how to get them over the hills and the bumps. And the teacher would be the parent, the little baby finger. We are all given this wonderful, oh my God, when a baby's born, oh, we're so awestruck that we're being trusted with all our inadequacies to give to this little innocent beauty that's perfect from heaven, and they don't remember, but we can see it in their eyes and their innocence. And this joy that comes, I think, when they say wake up and see your baby girl or baby boy, that gift of motherhood is my place of when my first joy was. And yet I was 19, and I had a mother that had bipolar disease, and she was so unhappy as a mother. I had no model of what a happy mother was, and eventually I'm gifted to be in a community of happy moms. They know how to play. They know how to, just be silly.
Lori, thank you for your words, because if you look at Sylvia Parker, she has a baby as you're talking.
Yeah.
Sylvia, you haven't said anything today. Would you like your voice to be heard?
Sure. I just wanted to show you the cute little baby that I have adored. My mom has the same photo. So we were teasing that Angelita, see, you do have two dimples. But she says, well, one has disappeared. And then she points at her belly button. She says, here's one. Oh, but here's one. her dimple has moved to her belly button now. Anyways, we chuckled with that one. And anyways, it's been a beautiful weekend with hanging out with my mom, and Angelita's doing a beautiful project on the place where I've grown up and lived. So we're just reminiscing, going through old photos, and just feeding ourselves the truth of who and where we come from, and seeing the light in the joy of being together as a family. So we had lots of chuckles, and of course it's stirring the pot to get moving forward our family reunion that was to happen like 3 years ago. Anyhow, we all know what's going on in the planet, so let's unfold this beautiful awakening and inviting our family to get together. Let's trust before the end of 2022.
And thank you for that comment, because the theme today is on Family Day in Ontario.
Oh, yes.
And it's also George Washington's birth date. And I'm remiss in saying that we have a beautiful soul in this group of 8. And thank you, Joanna, for pointing out it's a group of infinity. And Joey, congratulations. I hear you just got a little bit wiser in the past 12 months.
Happy
Yes,
birthday.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey.
So as we move forward to the calendar, just to mention, I will have a wonderful birthday with a twin sister, my roommate, and we were bringing about 157 years of experience to the planet because we've chosen diverse travels through our joy of being alive. And we were born in a time where we did not even have incubators, and we were in a wood stove. And so when you bring the baby pictures out, when my husband passed recently, one of the joys was having people like Joanna present and having drummers and having the joy of my young technological family bring forth a wonderful celebration of life and pictures. And they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So Sylvia, thank you for showing the picture. For every newborn baby born, a soul leaves the planet to create space for the new ones coming. And it's the new ones coming that have the wisdom to bring forth to us all right now, the wisdom of sharing our voices in ways that have richly blessed me today. And I hope all of you and all those listening. And so next month, I want to share something special. We are going to be talking on a theme, Get Healthy, which is a power follow-up to love ourselves, be true to ourselves, be our authentic, real, genuine spiritual selves, the soul of interiority, to thy own self be true.
Yes.
Raise up your souls and shine. The world needs your brightness. And thank you for sharing today, and everyone listening today, and for Joanna and Michael and whoever else is here today. We are very blessed to have the listeners present and other voices heard. And so have a wonderful weeks ahead, discovering the beauty in your own souls. And Kim and Joey, thanks for not so much for inspiring me to work with you both to create these circles on a monthly basis. And Julie, what a blessing to have you today as our guest speaker. I know you're going to lead us in a final prayer. And I just want to bless you for the wonderful work you bring forth to help old souls, young souls, middle souls, all souls to begin to discover the wonder of ourselves. So if you'd like to bring us forth and send us forth, powerful prayer for all of us blessed to see the richness of this conversation and to take it out to their own communities. May more and more of us listen and talk heart to heart and discover the beauty of why we've come to this wonderful, magnificent earth, our one mother. So thank you all, and Chi Miigwech in gratitude, and merci, and Julie, lead us forth.
Thank you again, everybody. So nice to just spend this time with you. Beautiful, beautiful experience. Thank you. So, Mother, Father, God, source of all creation and all creation itself, thank you for the healing conversations we've had today, the heart to heart, the love, so much love to each one of you for sharing. To Judith, our elder, to Kim and Joey for helping Judith make this happen. Just everybody again today who participated in this, and everybody who's going to listen to who's listening today and who will listen in the future. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your light and spreading that light far and wide. And thank you for the honor and the privilege that it is to get to journey again with each one of you. And so it is. Have a blessed rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Blessings to you all.
Take care,
Blessings.
Julie. Great to see
Keep
you.
expecting miracles. You
All
too,
right.
Joe.
Yes.
Sending you
Love
all
you.
kisses. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Take care, everyone.
Heart hugs. with love. Above all, remember to love.
Love, love, love.
Prove
Love,
that.
love.
Everybody.